Autumn in Boston always possessed a magnificent beauty, with maple trees transforming into deep reds, golden yellows, and fiery oranges, carpeting the ancient cobblestone streets. For Elara Vance, this beauty was now merely a veil covering her pain, a cruel contrast to her shattered soul. Once a rising star in academia, a talented lecturer, and a promising researcher at the prestigious Harvard University's Department of Psychology, Elara had a bright future stretching before her. Her scientific papers were highly acclaimed by experts, and her presentations always attracted large numbers of students and colleagues. She was passionate about her work, believing she could contribute to unraveling the mysteries of the human mind. Her life took a sudden and cruel turn when her son, Liam, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. It was a fateful afternoon when the doctor gently delivered the news. Elara felt as if her entire world had crumbled beneath her feet. All her ambitions, all her plans for the future seemed to vanish in an instant. But after a few moments of dizziness, her maternal instincts surged powerfully. She didn't hesitate to give up her burgeoning career, setting aside her passionate research projects and international conferences to dedicate all her time to caring for her son. She believed that her unconditional love, tireless patience, and devotion would be the best medicine, the guiding light for her little Liam to step out of his own world. But life is not always a bed of roses, especially when facing harsh challenges. Her husband, David, a talented and successful architect, who once shared all her dreams and ambitions, gradually distanced himself. He couldn't accept a not normal child, a child always immersed in his own world, rarely communicating and exhibiting repetitive behaviors. He especially couldn't accept a wife who was no longer the radiant, vibrant Elara of before, but instead a haggard woman, constantly busy with therapy sessions, books on autism, and sleepless nights. Bitter words from her in-laws began to surface, initially veiled comments, then outright criticisms. That girl only cares about her sick child, not the family, not David, her mother-in-law once said during a family dinner, her eyes filled with contempt. Liam is a burden, Elara. You have to think about David's future too, her father-in-law added, his tone full of disappointment. The scrutinizing glances, the veiled remarks about Liam being a burden, about Elara's useless sacrifice, suffocated her heart every day. She tried to endure, tried to mend the cracks in her marriage, tried to prove that Liam was a gift, a miracle, but all efforts were in vain. David grew colder and colder. Shared meals became frighteningly silent, and long nights were filled only with Elara's sighs in the empty room. One rainy afternoon, as heavy raindrops incessantly tapped against the window pane, and Elara was trying to coax Liam to play with colorful wooden blocks in the living room, David walked into the house with a cold, emotionless face. He didn't say a word, just threw the already signed divorce papers onto the coffee table, where Liam's wooden blocks lay scattered. Along with it came the cruelest words she had ever heard, words that tore her heart into shreds. I can't continue this life, Elara. I need another life, another family, without these burdens. I've found a woman who can give me a normal life, a normal family. Elara's heart shattered, with nothing left to break. She looked at Liam, her little son engrossed in stacking blocks, his eyes clear, completely unaware of the storm ravaging his mother's life. Elara's tears streamed down, mixing with the sound of rain outside the window, forming a bitter stream of despair. After the painful and humiliating divorce, Elara and Liam were forced out of the house she once thought was their eternal home. Her in-laws didn't say a word to stop them, even gloating when they saw her leave, as if they had just shed a burden. Ilara had nowhere to go, no close relatives to rely on, except for the small wooden house by the lake that her mother had left behind. It was an ancient house, nestled among old maple and oak trees, beside a clear, tranquil lake in rural Vermont. Her mother, an artist who loved nature and a simple life, had spent her entire life there, painting beautiful landscapes of the countryside, of changing seasons, of the vibrancy of plants and animals. Ilara remembered her mother's words, "My daughter, sometimes the most peaceful place is where you find yourself." Now, those words echoed in her mind like a prophecy. The journey back to the countryside was long and difficult, not just geographically, but emotionally. Ilara's old car was packed with the few remaining belongings, and most importantly, little Liam. With his autism, Liam was very sensitive to changes in environment and routine. He cried, screamed, sometimes hit his head on the seat, making Ilara even more exhausted and desperate. Every cry from her son was like a dagger twisting in her heart, reminding her of her helplessness. She had to stop the car many times to comfort Liam, sing to him, and try to keep calm for both of them. But when the car finally rolled onto the winding dirt road, strewn with golden and red autumn leaves, leading to the lakeside house, a strange sense of peace washed over her. It was a feeling Ilara hadn't experienced in years. The house appeared before Ilara like a fairy tale picture straight out of European stories, reminiscent of the ancient villages in Giethoorn, Netherlands, where thatched roof houses nestled beside tranquil canals. The moss-covered thatched roof, old wooden windows with vibrant red geraniums, and a small, reddish-brown boat moored by the lake, gently swaying with each ripple. Surrounding them were lush green trees, their reflections mirrored in the clear water, creating a giant mirror reflecting the blue sky. The air was fresh, with the faint scent of damp earth after the rain, decaying leaves, and wildflowers, the chirping of birds deep in the forest, the rustling of wind through the leaves like a whisper, the chirping of insects. All created a soothing symphony, calming Ilara's soul. She took a deep breath, feeling life coursing through every fiber of her being. "Liam, look, our house," Ilara whispered, hugging her son tightly, pointing at the house. Liam, surprisingly, was no longer crying. He looked up at the house, his large eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of delight. He reached out his hand, as if to touch the fresh air. Perhaps the peace and beauty of this place had touched his sensitive soul in a way that expensive therapies in Boston never could. The first days at the lakeside house were a struggle for Ilara. The pain of betrayal, the humiliation of being abandoned by her in-laws still smoldered, like an unhealed wound. She recalled the beautiful days in Boston, the lecture halls full of students, the challenging research projects, the brilliant career she had given up. Sometimes she felt like a boat adrift at sea, with no shore in sight. But every time she looked at Liam, saw his rare smile when he touched the cool lake water, or when he was engrossed in watching the fish swim in the clear water, Ilara found motivation again. She knew she had to be strong for her son, for their future together. She began to clean the house, little by little. Her mother's paintings still hung on the walls, carrying the warmth of love and art. Beautiful landscapes, simple yet vibrant still lifes, all reminded her of a strong, life-loving woman. Ilara found her mother's old books, her favorite classical music, her worn paintbrushes. She began to read to Liam, fairy tales about enchanted forests and adorable animals. She sang lullabies her mother used to sing to her, her voice still trembling slightly, but full of love. Gradually, Liam became more open. He began to interact with his mother, even if only with small gestures, affectionate glances, or sometimes a giggle when listening to her stories. The small house by the lake was not just a shelter, but also the beginning of a healing journey. One crisp autumn morning, as golden rays of sunlight pierced through the leaves of the maple trees, creating sparkling streaks on the damp ground, Ilara decided to take Liam for a walk around the lake. The autumn scenery here was breathtakingly beautiful, like a vibrant oil painting. The maple trees turned fiery red, honey golden, and fiery orange, creating a magnificent natural masterpiece, a festival of colors Ilara had never seen in Boston. Dry leaves fell abundantly underfoot, creating a soft carpet that rustled with every step. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of earth, dry leaves, and tree sap. "Mom, it's beautiful," Liam unexpectedly exclaimed, his voice clear, pointing at a brilliantly red maple tree standing majestically by the lake. Ilara was stunned. This was the first time Liam had spoken a complete and spontaneous sentence since she brought him here. Tears welled up in her eyes from happiness, from a glimmer of hope that had just appeared in her seemingly hardened heart. Perhaps nature had begun to heal her son, gently yet effectively. As they passed a small woodworking shop hidden behind old oak trees, nestled beside a gurgling stream, Ilara heard the steady sound of sawing, the rhythmic tapping of chisels, and the fragrant scent of pine wood permeating the air. Curious, she stepped inside, Liam clutching his mother's hand, his eyes curiously looking around. Inside, a middle-aged man with charming salt and pepper hair, kind eyes, and a warm smile was meticulously carving a large oak log. He wore an old flannel shirt, his sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. "Hello," the man said, looking up and smiling friendly. "Are you looking for something, or just visiting?" "Oh, no, I was just curious," Ilara replied, a little embarrassed. "The smell of wood here is so pleasant, and the sound of carving is so soothing." "I'm Oliver," the man said, wiping his hands on his leather apron and extending his hand. "Oliver Stone. I own this woodworking shop. Nice to meet you." "I'm Ilara Vance, and this is Liam," Ilara introduced, shaking Oliver's hand. His hand was calloused, warm, and full of life, unlike David's soft hand. Oliver looked at Liam, his eyes showing affection and understanding. "Hello, Liam. Do you like the smell of wood? I can show you some of the things I make." Liam said nothing, but he nodded slightly, his eyes still fixed on Oliver's logs and tools. Ilara was surprised. Liam was usually very shy around strangers, even avoiding their gaze. But with Oliver, he seemed strangely comfortable. From then on, Ilara and Liam often visited Oliver's woodworking shop. Oliver was a warm, patient man who loved children. He told Ilara about his life. He had also experienced great loss. His wife had passed away a few years ago from a serious illness. Oliver found solace in woodworking, in creating beautiful, soulful wooden objects from lifeless logs. He believed that every piece of wood had its own story, and his job was to help it tell that story. Oliver taught Liam simple wood carving techniques. He patiently showed the boy how to hold the knife, how to carve, how to feel the grain of the wood. He didn't force Liam, but let him explore in his own way. Liam, with his special focus, quickly learned. He was engrossed with the wood, creating funny shapes, small animals, crude wooden boats. Ilara looked at her son, her heart filled with joy and gratitude. Oliver had brought Liam a new world, a world of creativity, of pleasant sounds and smells, and most importantly, a world of connection. Liam began to smile more, sometimes even actively pulling Oliver's hand to show him his work. Gradually, a deep and genuine affection blossomed between Ilara and Oliver. They shared stories about their lives, about past pains, and about hopes for the future. Oliver was not at all wary of Liam. He treated Liam like his own son, giving him boundless attention and patience. He understood the difficulties Ilara faced, the invisible scars on her soul, and was always by her side, encouraging her with sincere words and in warm gestures. He didn't try to change Ilara, but accepted her with all she had been through. In the late afternoons, when work at the woodworking shop ended, Oliver often joined Ilara and Liam for walks around the lake, or sat by the shore admiring the view. They fished together, teaching Liam how to cast the rod, how to patiently wait. They collected colorful pebbles together, watched ducks swim. Liam, with Oliver's guidance, became increasingly open. He began to speak more, not just single words, but complete sentences, expressing his emotions. One brilliant sunset evening, as the sun slowly set on the horizon, painting the vast sky with ribbons of golden orange, pink, and purple, Ilara and Oliver sat by the lake, admiring the beautiful scenery. The sunset light reflected on the tranquil lake, creating a giant mirror, shimmering like gold, the chirping of birds preparing for their nests, the chirping of insects, and the gentle breeze caressing the trees. "I never thought I'd find peace here, Oliver," Ilara whispered, leaning her head on his shoulder, feeling the warmth from his body. "I once thought my life was over, that I would forever drown in pain and loneliness." "Life never ends, Ilara," Oliver said, squeezing her hand. His voice deep and reassuring. "It only changes, and sometimes change brings about better things, new beginnings we never expected." He gently kissed her hair, a light kiss, but full of love. Oliver told Ilara about his trips to Europe, about the ancient bridges he had admired in Scotland, where winding roads followed the limestone coast, and sturdy bridges spanned deep gorges, creating a majestic and inspiring sight. He spoke of the small, peaceful villages in rural France, where time seemed to stand still, where people lived slowly, enjoying every moment of life. He talked about the small canals in Giethoorn, Netherlands, where ancient thatched roof houses reflected in the water, and small boats were the main mode of transportation. Ilara listened, her heart filled with peace and a desire to explore new lands with Oliver and Liam. She realized that happiness was not about flashy, luxurious things, fleeting fame, but about simple, warm moments with loved ones. A deep connection between kindred souls. Liam also made remarkable progress. He not only spoke more, but also actively interacted with people around him. Oliver helped Liam build a small wooden boat, painted blue and named Hope. The two often rowed on the lake together, Liam sitting at the bow, his eyes bright as he gazed at the scenery. Ilara looked at the two most important men in her life, her heart overflowing with happiness. She knew she had found her true home. A home that didn't need sturdy walls or distant promises, but was built on love, understanding, and kindness. A year later, on a clear summer morning, as brilliant golden sunlight spread across the lake and lush green fields, Ilara and Oliver were married in a cozy ceremony by the lake. There were no luxurious hotels or extravagant parties, just their closest loved ones, those who had witnessed their journey, sharing this simple happiness. Liam, in a small, cute suit, was the ring-bearer. He was no longer the withdrawn autistic child he once was. He could communicate confidently, play with other children, and even read a short poem at the wedding, moving Ilara and Oliver deeply. Ilara was no longer a university lecturer, but she had found a new passion: writing books. She wrote about Liam's healing journey, about a mother's unconditional love for her special child, and about the miraculous power of nature in healing emotional wounds. Her book, Peaceful Lakes and a Healed Heart, quickly became a phenomenon, touching the hearts of millions of readers across America and Europe. The stories of Liam, Ilara's resilience, and Oliver's genuine love inspired many. Oliver continued his woodworking craft. His workshop grew steadily, not only because of the beautiful, intricate wooden objects he created, but also because of the story of his family's love and healing. He created wooden items that carried the soul of the wood and the love of the craftsman, from cozy dining tables to meticulously carved baby cradles. His workshop became a favorite destination for tourists who sought the peace and beauty of rural life, who wanted to admire wooden works of art, and who wanted to hear the story of Oliver and Ilara. Ilara, Oliver, and Liam's small family lived a simple, warm, and meaningful life by the lake. Every morning, they watched the sunrise over the lake, breathed the fresh air, listened to birds chirping and fish splashing. Every afternoon, they rowed on the lake together, admired the brilliant sunset, or simply sat on the porch, reading and chatting. Liam grew up in the boundless love and care of Ilara and Oliver. He became an intelligent, kind young man with an artistic soul. He continued his passion for wood carving with Oliver and even began to paint, inspired by his grandmother's paintings and the surrounding natural scenery. Life in rural Vermont brought Ilara and Liam a new rhythm, slower, more profound. Ilara gradually learned to let go of the pressures of urban life, the expectations of career and status. She found joy in simple things: planting a small vegetable garden, baking fragrant bread every morning, or simply sitting by the lake, watching migrating birds. Liam, under Oliver's guidance, developed more and more. He no longer had sudden emotional outbursts. Instead, he showed remarkable calmness and focus in his craft activities. Oliver was not only a talented carpenter, but also a wonderful stepfather. He spent time playing with Liam, teaching him how to identify different types of trees, how to distinguish bird calls, and how to find animal tracks in the forest. He patiently explained to Liam the structure of wood, how its grains create unique beauty in each piece. Liam, with his extraordinary memory and keen observation skills, quickly absorbed this knowledge. He began to create small wooden pieces on his own, starting with simple shapes, then funny animals, and even tiny house models. Oliver always encouraged Liam's creativity, never imposing or criticizing. Ilara also noticed a significant change in herself. She no longer woke up feeling heavy, but instead with an eagerness for a new day. Smiles returned to her face more often, and her eyes, once filled with sadness, now gleamed with peace and happiness. Oliver had helped her heal her emotional wounds, not with empty advice, but with his warm presence, understanding, and genuine love. He was a man of action, not flowery, but every gesture of his contained, deep care. One winter evening, as snow fell outside, blanketing the landscape in a pristine white cloak, the family of three huddled around the fireplace. Liam was engrossed in drawing a picture of the lakeside house in the snow. Oliver was carving a small wooden box, and Ilara was reading a book. The space was cozy, filled with the crackling of burning wood in the faint scent of pine. Liam suddenly looked up, looked at Oliver, then at Alara, and said, "I love Papa Oliver. I love Mama Alara. I love our home." Those simple words melted Alara and Oliver's hearts. That was the moment they knew that all the suffering, all the challenges they had endured were worth it. They had created a true home, where love was the foundation, understanding was the bond, and peace was the breath. Life in the countryside was not always smooth. Sometimes Liam struggled to adapt to new situations, or Alara felt pressured to balance caring for her son and her writing work. But they were not alone. Oliver was always there, helping her overcome every difficulty. He was her strong support, her shoulder to lean on when she was tired. The small community in Vermont was also very warm and friendly. Neighbors often visited, bringing homemade gifts, or simply spending time chatting and sharing stories about life. Alara realized that she had found a new family, not just Oliver and Liam, but also the entire community there. One day, Alara received an email from Harvard University. It was an invitation to an international scientific conference on autism. At first, she hesitated. She had left the academic world long ago, and memories of Boston still haunted her. But Oliver encouraged her. "You are a talented scientist, Alara. You can contribute so much to this field. Liam will be proud of you." With Oliver and Liam's support, Alara decided to attend the conference. She prepared her presentation, not on complex research, but on Liam's healing journey, on the role of nature and love in helping autistic children. Her presentation was a great success. Many scientists and researchers expressed their admiration and wanted to collaborate with her. Alara realized that she didn't need to go back to Boston to find her worth. She could contribute to society in her own way, from her peaceful home by the lake. After the conference, Alara received a call from David. He had heard about her success and seemed regretful about what had happened. He wanted to see Liam. Alara was very conflicted. She didn't want Liam to suffer any more harm. But Oliver advised her, "Liam has the right to know his biological father, Alara. Give him a chance, but protect Liam." The meeting between David and Liam took place at a park near their home. Liam, now much more confident, was able to communicate with David. David looked at his son, his eyes filled with regret and remorse. He apologized to Alara, apologized to Liam for his past mistakes. Alara no longer felt hatred. She had forgiven David, not because he deserved it, but because she wanted to free herself from the burden of resentment. Alara, Oliver, and Liam's lives continued in peace and happiness. Liam grew up to be a talented and kind young man. He pursued a degree in graphic design, combining his passion for art with his special logical thinking abilities. Oliver continued his woodworking craft, and Alara continued to write books, inspiring millions of people. Their story is a symphony of healing, unconditional love, and the simple beauty of life. It proves that no matter what harsh challenges life throws at us, we can still find light, find happiness, and find ourselves in the most peaceful place where the heart is loved and healed.